knowledge fades, Sensay lights the path we've made. From stories untold to wisdom profound, we'll keep your voice where it's always found. The spark of genius, the heart of thought, in every step, the battles we fought. Preserve, extend, and innovate, for the future is ours to create. Sensay rise through the ages and time. Knowledge immortal, voices that climb. From the past to the future, we pave the way. Wisdom eternal, this is Sensay. AI built a human soul, a legacy carved to make us whole. Through every moment we hold the light, guiding the way both day and night. Imagine a world where minds unite, ideas soar and dreams take flight. Together we stand, a force so strong, echoing brilliance where we belong. Sensay rise through the ages and time. Knowledge immortal, voices that climb. From the past to the future, we pave the way. Wisdom eternal, this is Sensay. This is the anthem of innovation, a promise of endless creation. Breaking the rules, rewriting the game. Sensay is more than a name.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Welcome back for another weekly community call from myself, Dan Thomson, the CEO and founder of Sensay. And today joining us, we have Lars, our head of community, and John Brunt, who heads up our AI team. I don't know if we're going to pull them up quickly for some introductions, but maybe they're there. So Lars, you want to give a quick introduction for yourself?
Well, I hope everything is all right and everything is doing good these days. My internet is not the best here in the Philippines right now, as you might be able to hear, but we are here for you around the world. It's nice to see you again, from head of the community to all of the community joining us here. How are you today, John?
I'm doing good, and good to be here as well. I hope everyone's doing well. I think it's an exciting time for artificial intelligence in general, and I'm excited to share some updates that we've seen here at Sensay and in the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and software engineering communities. So, hello to everyone. Happy to be here.
Well, John, it's one of your first times joining these calls, so why don't you give a bit of a background about yourself?
Yeah, I started out in software engineering about 10 years ago, and for the last few years, I've concentrated on machine learning and AI. I've been with Sensay for about 6 months now. So I concentrate both on our production app as well as doing research into what the latest cutting edge technology and artificial intelligence is. But I truly enjoy my job. I enjoy artificial intelligence and machine learning, and I enjoy the opportunities that Sensay gives me to explore and work with this technology.
Nice. And yeah, and recently, John, you've been doing a lot of video content for us as well, and for the community as a way of both internal and externally, showcasing some of the latest developments in AI. I mean, you've done like quick and long reviews of everything from, I guess, the latest Grok 3 to Manus to pretty much everything that's been going on recently. What's been like the most interesting part of all that for you?
I think the most interesting part that we've seen this year, I like to see the level of competition. I love to see the competition coming out of China. I'm loving to see how places are doing much more with much less regarding hardware and compute. And where I think that plays in for everyone is we exponentially see the cost of inference for AI falling. So it's more accessible. What was very expensive a year ago is quite cheap in terms of the same production today. So right now, Dan, I've been looking into voice to voice for applications, and that was something that just 1 year, 2 years ago, both the technology to run it and the cost to run it was incredibly high and prohibitive at times. And now we're seeing that where we can offer those kind of options mainstream for very reasonable prices. And the more competition, the more advancement we see, the more we'll be able to offer to our clients, and the more in general the world will be able to benefit from AI. So I think that's one thing. And the other thing it's been talked about a lot, this being the year of the agent. So we're starting to see agentic workflows, and not only the models and the frameworks and the interest around them emerging. So what once maybe took a team of people to do, we can now mostly offload to an agentic workflow with a little bit of human oversight. And that's been the other big thing that I think I've been working with, and that's really left me excited.
Very cool. We're actually going to probably link to the YouTube. So if anyone is new here that hasn't seen any of these videos, do go and check out our YouTube channel. We've got some really interesting content on there, and loads of the latest updates in AI. So definitely go and check it out. We've been working hard to make them as informative and up to date as possible, so that we can keep everyone on edge with this crazy space that we work in, because everything moves crazy fast. Welcome everyone for joining properly. Thank you guys for the introductions. For anyone new here, Sensay is a platform where we create AI replicas of people, like digital twins and clones, those type of things. We use this as a source of knowledge transfer, and in that sense, we basically take all the different data points about someone. We capture their knowledge, their skills, their experience, and we create this wisdom engine from that allows it to become useful for them as a way of extending the person, whether that's for future generations or within companies in times where people aren't online. Their data is still there, but their own availability might not be. And essentially, we enable that data and that knowledge to be shared in any language 24/7. And meaning that knowledge just is always available and never lost. So that's the big goal for the company, and what we're hoping to do. Currently targeting companies of all sizes, looking at everything from customer service agents through to sales agents, and also these replicas of key people in any company, because in most organizations, big and small, you have maybe 10% of the people that have 80% of the knowledge of that institution, of that company. And so we're here to help capture that and help to actually extend it in a way that hasn't really been possible before. It's a really novel, fun technology. If you have any comments at all, feel free to jump into our YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, and you will be able to actually comment, and we'll be able to see the questions. And at the end, there'll be a Q&A where we'll read out some of the best questions to answer whatever questions you might have about Sensay, about any of us as individuals, or about what we think about AI or the Web3 space as a whole. So feel free to drop your comments in anywhere. We will see them, and we will get around to them at the end. Lars, would you like to give a bit of an update on the current March Madness campaign?
So the March Madness is actually going amazing. We have a lot of life in the chat coming in from it. As well, the 19th is coming up. On the 19th, I hear a lot of people been asking about, is that the end of the March Madness? No, we will start part 2. And there will come a special quest on instructions direct to how to activate your second phase of the March Madness that starts as soon as phase 1 ends. And of course, yeah, over to you again.
No, I was going to say we can carry on. I was just going to say, for anyone who's not aware of our Quest platform, the Sensay Quest platform is sensay.io/quests. And this is where anyone in the community or anyone new to our project can get more involved and earn points, which in the future can be redeemed for either as part of a monthly campaign, or as can be redeemed for Sensay tokens, or for some of our excellent swag, which I think for the first time, none of us are wearing swag, which is very strange. But you can also go to our shop.sensay.io, which has any of the swag available. There you go. For example, a lovely Sensay backpack. But yeah, sorry, Lars, carry on about what are the current quests that we've got going on.
So our main quest is that we want to see how your knowledge got intertwined into creating replicas. When stage 2 starts, that's where all the fun starts. And I don't want to give too much, but it will give you challenges to create for others. Let's just say like that.
Giving nothing away at all. Okay.
No, nothing.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. The really exciting thing about this month is we've got loads of updates coming out. We have like so many products and features that are just going through the final testing now, and so over the next few weeks we're going to see some really great products from the company being shipped, both internally, externally, and just there's been so much development going on the last sort of 6 weeks. So we're really excited to see some of those come out finally. I'm not gonna give too many details right now because I don't want to spoil the announcements, but keep your eyes out this week, next week, this coming week, and the week after for some big ones. You don't really want to miss them because they are huge updates to what we've been doing. On top of that, we've been seeing a huge amount of new replicas every day. So we've been talking about we've been seeing lots of new community replicas coming through, and as per usual, we're going to start highlighting some of those replicas a bit later on in this discussion today. The other update right now is that we spent the week in South by Southwest in Austin, which is it's more music and film and art and culture and comedy. But it was great to be there because they still have a tech element, and Austin is a really up and coming city in the US with a lot of people moving there from LA and from New York. So there's a huge amount of opportunity of people that we actually had a chance to speak to. So we got to meet a lot of the guys from places like KPMG and Deloitte, and we got to meet the Seed AI guys, hanging out with 11 Labs, a partner of ours, and Nacho. We got to basically get around and actually just network with some really important people in the space, as well as quite a few Web3 events, surprisingly, as well. So it was great to really be there, get quite a lot out of it, and also get a chance to actually enjoy a bit of music and comedy for a change, rather than just full-on networking all day long every day. But no, there were loads of AI companies there, loads of sort of associated companies as well, from like Customer.io to Remote.com, and Deal. I thought I said Nacho, and also a few interesting concepts that came out of like countries like Japan and Korea who had exhibits there, and so getting to see the state of where other countries in the AI race are up to, and to understand like what where we're at as a company and as a civilization. So that was really interesting. And one of the things that's really developed over the last 3 weeks of conferencing, and developed from I guess our last team offsite about a month ago, is the messaging and the way that we actually pitch what we're doing to people. So when we're pitching people, we're understanding that this idea of knowledge transfer is incredibly important. This idea, and extremely valuable as well, when you have people who work in any kind of organization, at any level really, but mostly like experts and senior people. If they leave after even just a couple of years, they take with them a huge amount of knowledge that they've earned or that they already have. And it's a shame because these companies, value these employees. That's why they hire people in, and that's where we can really help to make sure that knowledge isn't lost, and it's actually transferred or handed over to the next person really effectively. So even in something like a government department, having someone who's been working there for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, having the ability to capture some of that awareness, that thought process, that just that knowledge, and turning it into this sustainable, scalable wisdom that can be used to train all the juniors coming in on technology they might not need to know. So instead of having to have a huge like training manual and loads of documents for them to try and like read through, you can actually have this interactive sort of onboarding and training and handover, which becomes really powerful. And so we're really excited to see that the reactions from the different potential customers, the different people in the space, have just been like, wow, this is amazing. Obviously we show the video demo, which is is quite impressive, and it's people get the idea very quickly, and they just see it and they're just, oh wow, I want one of these. So the reaction's been really fantastic so far, and it's it's really nice to see that the team has been just shipping and actually making this happen. And then the BDN outreach is actually getting some really good responses, some really good quality leads coming through as well from around the world. We're looking at telecom companies, management consultants. We've been speaking to tourism boards and entire education and manufacturing departments of different huge companies. So it's a really great time in what we're doing, and a lot of interest in Sensay products. We're also about to start launching our own external hackathons. So the first one will actually come up next month. This will encourage any builders out there, any entrepreneurs, to have a chance to build out. I'm not going to give it away right now, but build something on top of Sensay that will have cash prizes of up to $10,000, as well as grants that for anyone who actually keeps building and hit certain milestones afterwards. So this will give anyone the opportunity to actually contribute to Sensay, but also build on top of it and actually build out their entire own use cases and platforms for Sensay's replication and wisdom engine technology. So very excited about all that. As we kind of touched on it a bit before, but John has been doing lots of recent videos, and I think we'll probably pull the link back up to our YouTube again. And there we go. The videos have been great. So anyone who's had a chance to watch some of these, they're super informative. So I don't know, John, do you want to give a quick rundown of some of the ones you've been doing recently?
Yeah, so I've done quite a few. Some of the larger ones that I've done and some of the more interesting ones I've done that come to mind include Grok 3, which came out recently from XAI. This last week, we covered Manus AI, which touts itself as the first fully autonomous agentic system. It's interesting to see every day there's something new. So whether, like I said, it was Grok or Manus, we see a lot of models coming out. We see a lot of new technology coming out. We talked about the direct. Back in the day, you had to take voice, translate that to text, and then that processed through the system, back to text, back to voice. Right now, we're able to actually take in voice and output voice and bypass a lot of the internal steps. And that's one thing that we're being able to get more lifelike conversations on our videos with voice-to-voice applications.
And there's a lot of people building in that space, right? So I think OpenAI have something, 11 Labs in this sort of voice-to-voice technology.
Yeah, definitely. So like you said, OpenAI has an API that is specifically built out to handle voice-to-voice. 11 Labs, of course, their core product is replicating voices, and they've got voice-to-voice technology available. There's also some good open source models available. The quality of them is a little bit of a trade-off, but you're able to have much less upfront cost and be able to maintain that for much less. I think it's exciting, the voice-to-voice, because the more human-like the interaction is, the more useful cases. A lot of places, from like you talked about, Dan, individuals, businesses, up to governments, have a way to interact with their clients, a way to interact with their citizens, the people that they serve.
But for us, I know you've been working on the voice-to-voice yourself, and the sort of dynamic questions, right? So essentially, the idea is having a rough list of questions that we should ask, and then make it a natural conversation to get through those questions, and make the responses feel very natural and with low latency. And previously we looked at it and it couldn't be done before, but obviously that's changed now. So what have been some of the biggest developments there, or the biggest challenges to actually be able to make that data useful for us?
Yeah, so you're talking about being able to do, in the sense of an interactive, responsive interview. As we see AI technology, both the models that we use, you spoke of the inference and the hardware and everything behind it that makes things run almost in real time. In the past, we were more faced with, we have a certain set of questions that we ask, we get a response to them, and that's uploaded to the knowledge base. Now we're looking at being able to actually have an interactive interview where, yes, like you said, Dan, we have a set number of questions, and the LLM, the models, the AI, is able to work behind the scenes and based on your responses, create dynamic questions to gather more things that are relevant to your interests, to your use cases, to what you're passionate about, to what you're talking about. So it's a much more in-depth experience that AI is able to guide on its own. And from that, we're able to extract that data into a usable form and translate that into our knowledge base. So I think, in a nutshell, it's just the overall advancement in technology that's coming together to be able to do that in the models, in the hardware, in the frameworks, and just the maturity that we're seeing in the AI ecosystem.
And we saw, like, I think one of the earliest, because obviously there have been issues with this kind of technology before, and one of the earliest sort of solutions to not fix the latency but make it feel more natural was things like filler words, right? So adding in like, oh, let me think about that, or just the pauses, and just, I guess they just, like they'd be like, oh, great question or great point. Loads of like filler words came in, and that makes it feel like the latency is actually very low, and they can actually be very fast. But there's always the biggest issue of scaling voice to voice as well, so it doesn't feel unnatural if someone's got like a slow internet connection or if the servers are too busy. Have you done any like sort of looking into how these different companies have actually managed to address that?
So how that's been, to give you an idea of, you're talking about the latency. Just 1 year ago, a gentleman from Stanford, one of the leading institutions in AI, created a chatbot of himself, and they were experiencing about 5 to 9 seconds of latency. Obviously, that is nowhere near a fluid human-like conversation. They did exactly what you talked about, having pre-responses where those filler words that were hard-coded almost in to make the latency seem lower. What we've seen, for example, we've got WebRTC. It's an open source protocol that Google created that allows a much quicker transmission and use of that voice, of media in general. We're not just talking about voice, it can be video as well. So we've seen protocols that have developed that actually, just like protocols developed for the internet in general, we're seeing protocols being developed that take advantage of various technologies and being able to harness those protocols. For example, you talked about the OpenAI API, the real-time API, being able to use those protocols. That is what has greatly reduced the latency. And also as well, like I talked about, we exponentially see reductions in latency because of upgrades in hardware. So every year, the hardware becomes much, much better, and you see a reduction in latency, less need for those filler words, and new technologies that are accessible and affordable both for business and consumers to utilize.
Very, very cool. No, honestly, and which of the which of the voice engines is the most the most advanced at this point? Because I mean, I was just actually chatting to the 11 Labs guys a couple of days ago on some of their like innovation team, and they seem to be pretty far along. We've integrated them, we use them, but I don't know, is there any others that you've seen that have probably at the same level or maybe more advanced at this point?
I think 11 Labs, a joke within the community is they're not, I don't even know their value now, but at the point that they were $100 million company, they're not a $100 million company for no reason. I think they're even much more than that now, but their technology in terms of closed source, things that you're not able to download and utilize and change on your own system, they are the leaders in that. And their product shows that. They've not only cloned a voice using them, they've got agentic systems that have come out, they've got their own models that have come out. There's a lot of people that I would say have gotten somewhat close, but 11 Labs still, as we stand today, is the gold standard of cloning voices, voice-to-voice technology. They've got an amazing engineering team that does a lot.
And you've been looking into this because we've been, so I think if I mentioned this before today, but again, I'm happy to say a lot, but we've enabled out our Wisdom engine via our API. And so because of that, we're encouraging different projects and builders to build on top of us. And one of those applications has always been for AI dating or some kind of like, replica dating service. And so you've been working with a friend of mine called Amara, who's actually building out this AI dating service called Lola. And it's super interesting, right? You're looking at having those dynamic questions with this personality to then go on and plug into some kind of advanced algorithm that can match make people pretty effectively, right? So what's been your sort of takeaways from that? You've obviously had quite a few conversations on the technical side with her, and what challenges are there? What are you most excited for? And what have been your takeaways from it so far?
I think what's been very interesting about what she's doing, you always want to consider your competition. It was the first thing I asked her, and there is nobody else that's quite doing what she's trying to do right now. And that's quite simply, normally when we went to dating sites 5 years ago, 10 years ago, today, it's a lot of questions and you're going to type the answers to those questions. And she's looking at having a very realistic experience in terms of, as we've talked about, a voice-to-voice interview. So when you go to make an account on the system, you do an interview and it feels like you're talking to a person. It feels like you're interacting with a person. And depending on your responses, depends on exactly how the system, the AI, responds back to you. And we're working on being able to gather that data, extract meaningful features from that data, and then, as you said, translate that into an algorithm that can match people. So you not only have a more lifelike, human-like experience, even though it's been being done over the internet, but you've got the power of software and algorithms along with artificial intelligence to help find the most realistic matches for someone. So I think that's just one more very interesting and exciting case of the use of artificial intelligence. And it's been a pleasure working with her so far in these early stages, and I look forward to what's to come. As far as the challenges, this is quite bleeding edge technology. So trying to make things as lifelike as possible, reducing hallucinations to almost or at zero. That's a challenge. Being able to make the latency always. We can get things a lot of times 80%, 90% of the time, but to get it 99.9% of the time, that's a challenge in itself.
Yeah,
I just think to make it as human-like as possible.
Okay, nice. I'm super excited for it. I think it's a really great application of this type of technology, and I think it'll do very, very well. So I'm excited to see what comes of it. One of the other things we've been talking a lot about recently is the various base LLMs to use and the reasons behind them. So obviously, in the last week or two, we've announced our LLM switcher as an updated part of our platform. So this basically enables anyone, any user, any maker of a replica or a character to opt into whichever base LLM they would like to use, because people have preferences. They have ideas about which ones they think would be better for them, and also which ones just sound more like them. And so it takes a bit of playing around. It's under our advanced edit section, and we've just been going into detail a lot of that, and you've been a part of that conversation as well, John. So which maybe you want to give everyone a quick sort of overview of our thought process behind which of the LLMs we use as standard and why, and yeah.
So there's a lot of choices, and I think our general thought process, first and foremost, from a business standpoint, what's going to serve our clients, our customers the best. And the answer to that, there's not one fixed answer, because what you want, Dan, may be different from what I want, may be very different from what someone else wants. Each model, they're all very advanced models that we offer, but each model offers something a little bit different. So I was talking about Grok 3 coming out. Grok 2 is available now when Grok 3's API becomes available. We'll switch over to that. but something Grok allows that we don't see with OpenAI, with Claude, with most other LLMs that are mainstream. It's quite uncensored, if you would. So if you want to be able to talk a little bit more edgy or more human-like, or maybe
Just simply
talk
swear,
about,
right? Something as simple as swearing. Right.
if you want to swear, if you want to talk about controversial subjects, pretty much you've got that at your fingertips with Grok. If you want something that gives much more protections against that, and really is the industry leader in a lot of senses, OpenAI. I believe I just saw the other day 66% of all production applications that use AI use OpenAI. Great model, but it's got a lot of guardrails. If I was going to use one, another one that we offer that's an interesting use case for me, I talked about my history in coding. Before that, I was a biochemist and an epidemiologist. So we offer O3 Mini. O3 Mini is a reasoning model from OpenAI, but it's very different in the fact that it was created for solving and reasoning over difficult STEM, science, technology, or engineering and mathematics problems. So if I was going to create a replica of me, say, if I was an epidemiologist still today and I wanted it to be able to talk about medicine, I'd probably opt for O3. If I wanted something to talk like me in my, say, my sports endeavors, my mixed martial arts, I'd probably go for something like Grok 3. If I was looking for something more vanilla and high end, I would say GPT 4.0. We also have Claude 3.5. That's what I use for coding every day. It is the best model, hands down, for using in our IDEs, using to help while we code. So there's never one solution for everybody. It depends on what you want, and there's a little something for everyone there, uncensored, science and research. You know, everyone, all of them have a little bit different of a personality as well, and you can tinker with that, mess with the system prompt, and get a lot of different type of responses.
Yeah, so I think we ended up settling on having Claude 3.5 as the base, but we obviously have Grok 2, Claude 3.7, OpenAI for 4.0 and O3 Mini. So we've got some great options in there. But it really does come down to personal preference at the end of the day, and we encourage anyone who's created a replica to try them all out and see which one they think works best for their particular replica. So it's really great to have those options there, and also we've even got DeepSeek in there as well. So DeepSeek's been pretty strong for me. I always forget that. That's a really good one for us as well. And they're making some real progress as well. I saw one of their latest update benchmarked extremely highly against some of the other competitors out there.
Yeah, DeepSeek's been one of the big stories, if not the big story of the year. And as I was talking about earlier, doing more with less because of the political nature of the world. China has not had access to the quantity or quality of GPUs, the powerful engines behind the inference, the training of AI. And they have managed to develop architectures that use a lot less GPUs, a lot less computing power, and they're able to train and serve the AI to the same level or even a higher level than the closed source models. And they kind of came out of nowhere recently with a model that is open source. You can download it, you can use it, you can train it if you've got the compute to do so, or if you're willing to pay to do so. And it's a reasoning model. So it's not only able to take on simple queries, but you give it a task and if you would, it thinks about that task, it reasons how to solve it. It goes back and corrects itself when necessary. That's the same thing like O3 Mini that we talked of. But yeah, DeepSeek's been amazing. It was amazing what they came out with. It's really cool that they published, been very open with a lot of their research as far as their white papers they publish in archives, the code that they've open source, and the willingness to open up to the community about how they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, no, it's amazing to see the space is moving open source. We're big fans of open source technology, and we'll actually be open sourcing a lot of our integrations in the next few months as well. So there'll be plenty of feature bounties out for those. So anyone in the community can contribute a particular integration or feature, if that's like plugging replicas into WhatsApp or Line or Slack or pretty much anything really. We're going to create an open source marketplace for that with revenue share to encourage anyone to contribute to those integrations. So really excited for that. It's in the roadmap for the next sort of, I think, 3 to 6 months. So hopefully we get that done then. Just before we jump into some community replica highlights, just want to remind everyone, if you do have any questions today, please do ask them on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. We can see the questions, and we will answer them after just a couple more updates. So please feel free to ask away, and we will answer any questions that anyone has from the community. Right, so let me just share my screen, and we're going to look at this. This always goes very well, so let's just let's see which community replicas have been highlighted this week. So we've got Venom the Great. Lars, do you know much about these ones?
I do not know a lot about them, but they are from a community, and that's always what makes them interesting, because you never know what you run into, right?
Wow, okay, so Venom the Great. Where are you from? Exactly, yeah, that was going to be a bit mixed bag, but we'll get to see some of the ones that are in here. Oh, okay, that's not the best one to start. But, right, let's try this one. We've got Arya Baratheon. Arya from Game of Thrones, I imagine. What would be Arya Baratheon? Arya Stark Winterfell? Or maybe not. It should be Arya Stark. We got that badly wrong. With a different image. So this is probably more of a character, unless someone's actually called. Yeah, so this is. So it's definitely not. Oh, right, because she married the guy in the end? No. It's a long time ago. Very cool. All right. X Hat this week. X Hat's a regular in our community, both in Twitter and Telegram. So let's see what we've got.
That was the one that was private last week, so I'm looking forward to see what we have.
Apparently it's me. That can't be right. I'm down. Let's see. So this is our, by the way, for anyone who's not familiar with our system, this is our hallucination checker. This basically enables you to check and see where the answers come from. So maybe it did just type my name. Nice. And then the nice thing is we don't make up. The hallucinations have actually been limited recently, so it won't hallucinate if it doesn't have the information. So that's why our replica is becoming really, really powerful. It's a shame. Last week we had a cat. Last week was very funny. Great. All right.
Yes, that's actually also that's Alfred in our community chat.
Okay. So these have been they've been training, but not all the way through. Let's have a look. Let's try Eddie, shall we? I think we had a better selection last week, Lars.
I'll get your mine now.
That's okay. What do you do for fun? Typing's terrible today. Very, very cool. And then the last one to have a look at today, Mark Moses. Let's see what Mark comes up. Is Mark another community one, or is it a...
They're all from the community, yes. The last two that we linked to you is two of the team ones, the next two if it is like the ones that got it.
Right. Okay. Lars's Lars's Philippine internet is not the best today. Okay. Right. But there was another one. Was there? You said? Is it this astrologer or is it the
Both of them are from the team. That's team build the replicas.
with
Both of the next two.
astrologer? I guess I about my fortunes this month. I don't know. What do people ask astrologers? What's a good question for an astrologer?
The future or what is going to happen today is so different every time.
Financially, be cautious with spending. Haven't got anything left to spend. It's all in crypto. Venus and deep conversation. Fantastic. What other signs am I compatible with? That's terrible English. Apologize. Any good, I don't know, I guess, celestial event? Very fun. And let's have a look. This is NYXOX. Who's this one?
Proper degen one.
All right, what's we got?
Yoanon, feeling lucky or about to get...
Yeah, fine. They're not playing fair with me today.
Oh, that one won't play fair with you at any time.
They won't. Okay.
Ask John, he tried it.
I'm being told that the Astro one is made with well, there's different sites as well that are using the Sensay API already, using those particular replicas already. So that's fantastic. So some great examples. Right. So that's some good community replicas, and then yeah, just a quick update on what we're currently working on. So as mentioned last week, we've got the Telegram app, our website widget, interactive video, payments to Sensay. So these are not the big feature announcements we've got coming up, but these are things that are going to be updated soon, because these are all things we have in the system already that are getting updated and improved. So I think it's probably time that we move on to the Q&A. So what have we got today?
How do we implement Sensay on our email to reply to mails?
Very exciting. This will actually be coming out very, very soon. So I'll probably actually have this a bit more detail about this in next week's call. But basically, it will be there'll be more details coming out in the next 2 weeks around this, because email drafting and replying to emails is a big application for the technology, and so that's where we are looking to have that implemented very, very soon. A lot of the work has been done for it, and it's almost there. So very, very soon it'll be available to anyone to get access to and start using. Good question.
So we have Omar. How does Sensay ensure the AI power replicas accuracy capture an individual's unique experience and communication style?
So this is really where our wisdom engine works really, really well. And this is basically what our wisdom engine does. So, I mean, I always get rambling about this one, but so a lot of what we do also ties into the philosophy of identity. So we as individuals have a perception of ourselves, and that perception of ourselves is not always the version that other people interact with. So, anyone watching this might have a perception of who I am from the videos they see, from video calls, from just the different conferences, different photos, different things we put out on the Sensay social media then content. What it means for other individuals, though, is that the perceived version of each person is different based on two things. First of all, the person interacting with them. So identity is very subjective based on the person you're interacting with. So I'm very, I'll be very professional with people I just meet for the first time, whereas with some of my best friends, I'll be a completely different person. With family, I'll be a different person altogether, and probably with my girlfriend, I'm a very different way as well. So these different versions of ourselves are not any less us, because that's how people identify us. They are actually all versions of us that we need to sort of consider. So understanding the subjective nature of who you're actually interacting with and who the user is becomes very, very important. The second part of it is also where you interact with them. So understanding that, understanding like if you are posting on something like Twitter, it's very different to how you would typically write an email. How you would post on Instagram is probably very different to the way that you might write a message on Slack to one of your colleagues. So having that contextual information of who you're speaking to and on which platform will really, combine that with some, examples of style of writing that you may have had before. So we have to take the data points from these different platforms to understand the individual's way of interacting with certain people on certain platforms, and then use our wisdom engine to replicate that in their voice, using access to their data and their knowledge. And that is basically, what makes Sensay probably the most powerful like AI brain out there right now, because the algorithm that we built, the system we're building is currently the world's best wisdom engine. It's the world's best version of this that can actually process that in such a way that it can actually act for you correctly on these different platforms. So thank you very much for that question, because I always enjoy talking about that.
I know, that's why we never want to interrupt you, because that's one thing you always go on about. So we have crypto gems coming in with, is there plans to make subscription payments in Sensay? If yes, when should we expect it?
Yes, soon. Yes, it's happening. Sensay tokens are coming in for both subscriptions for the platform for B2C users, but also should be available pretty soon for API customers as well. So they'll be able to actually, anyone who's building on top of Sensay or using the API for different channels will be able to buy credits using, or even use Sensay tokens as credits on our platform. So yes, very, very soon, next month, maybe two.
So it's in the running. So Oscar Luchevert, what type of routine tasks can Sensay replicas automate, and how customized are they for specific industries or roles?
Yeah. So even though we have the voice and video options as well, the main utility really is over text. I mean, that's how most people interact with these platforms. Maybe in the future we shift to more like live video calls with people, or maybe that's something that we as civilization might do. But what even we see is, even with the ability of having like video calls and phone calls, we still generally send text messages. We send written messages to people rather than and more in like the younger generation. They'll send voice notes, but they generally will use like a text-based system for pretty much most things. So when it comes to automating different things, it's usually around messaging. It's usually around that knowledge sharing, that knowledge transfer from one person to the other, and that usually comes over having this interactive chatbot, or it could be, and can send voice notes if it wants to, or have this new voice integration that John's been working on to enable these sort of like live transfer of knowledge based interactions that essentially enable your replica to share your knowledge and experience. Because a lot of the questions we get asked day to day are quite similar, right? A lot of people get asked, what's your name? What do you do? And, what's your role in the company? And, there might even be like a status update on a project. And if the replica has access to that data, it can give those updates. So essentially what it does, it can reply automatically on your behalf. The other thing is just enabling drafting. So if you're not confident in having an AI reply for you directly, then you can have it draft responses for you that can reply to or can be drafted, so you can just authorize them to be sent. So it makes it easier.
That's quite nice, yeah. So we have a LinkedIn user coming in here. I just created an account in Sensay. Can I access other people's replica? I want to try other replicas before I create one myself.
Sure. So we have our community replicas page, which is actually off the top of my head, I think it's sensei.io/community. I believe might be replicas. Yes. So it's sensei.io/community, which you can check out any of the created replicas by other people. You can also go to our replicas page as a whole, which has a load of Sensei replicas as well as some featured ones that we're highlighting. But yeah, you can test any of them out. You can also start by creating a replica for free. So you can actually create your replica at a basic level and interact with it for free to see the kind of quality. And the nice thing is you can also set it as private, so you don't actually have to share it with everyone if you don't want to. We actually have the ability to make your replica private or public if you want to share it with people. But if you want to keep it private, you can use it yourself, but you can also whitelist it for anyone who also has a Sensei account that you would like to see what we're doing, what your replica is. So you can create a replica there and make it private and share it with your friends only if you want to, or you can make it public so it's out there. Or check out any of the community replicas community. There are quite a few spammy ones in there as well, but you can scroll through and generally find some good ones as you go.
So does the replica understand that it is a replica?
It's, I mean, what my favorite. I get very philosophical with this because I guess
So Dan, we know you've gone through this so many times. So let's this time actually have John see what his knowledge is on it, because it is a very philosophical and we've gone through it so many times. So we have John here with us. So let's hand it over to him for once.
That's a complicated question on many levels. Our idea, based on how we have these set up, is for it not to respond like a replica. So we give it instructions that it shouldn't respond like a replica. Does it understand that it's a replica? From a computer science standpoint, no, I don't believe it does. From a philosophical standpoint, that's something I think Dan would be a lot better to speak from. That said, and I think how your replica acts, and someone had asked, how does Sensei make sure that it has your knowledge and that it reflects your expertise? And Dan provided a really great answer about that, about the personality, and some of the deeper psychological standpoints of that. But from a technological standpoint, the more you train your replica, the more it will respond like you want with your knowledge, and you can give it specific instructions. And how that works very quickly is everything you put in is saved, but it's saved in a special way, in a mathematical way that allows the semantics, the meaning of that, to be referenced. So when someone talks to it, we compare what they're asking to what you've saved in your knowledge base, and we're able to pull the facts from your knowledge base that are computationally the closest to the question being asked. That is not something specific to Sensei nor a particular model. That is machine learning and artificial intelligence, embedding, semantic searches. I don't feel like I gave a great answer to this, but that's a good question and a very, very hard thing to answer.
There's so many different ways of looking at it. I mean, from a technology standpoint of our understanding of it, no. I mean, it's not. They have no self-awareness. Consciousness is a whole other. Sentience and consciousness is a whole other like magnitude of order bigger than anything that's out there right now, right? So even if consciousness and sentience does just evolve from computing power, it's who knows what that actually looks like when it's in a completely different substrate to what we are created as biological machines. and whether or not consciousness is even generated from our brains and our computers, or whether we are, as a recent paper put it, receivers of consciousness. And so would a replica be self-aware? Probably not, and probably not for quite a while. But the AI will become advanced enough that it will become indistinguishable from consciousness. So the reality is it will answer in any way that is as good as a human can. If I asked John and Lars to prove that they are, not AI to me, it's a very, very difficult thing to actually prove that you are not some kind of advanced artificial intelligence that is like completely undeniable. So especially in the day and age where you can't really trust anything on the computer anymore, you can't trust anything you see or hear. So in actually very, very short amount of time, probably there's even some people who already have this, but in a very short amount of time, and there's a great one I saw the other day called Pickle AI, where they can actually have like an AI version of you that talks to your screen while you walk around and do whatever else. So it talks, it looks like you, it's acting like you, but you're actually like walking around or doing whatever else in the room. But so how do you trust that something isn't AI or is actually answering in a way that is genuine? And the answer is you can't. As soon as something is advanced enough, and especially in AI, there will be no question that we could ever ask it that it would not be able to answer better than a human can. So, but does that mean it's actually self-aware and conscious? Probably not. But it'll be impossible for us to actually pass that test. And on the back end, I'm actually running this research paper with one of our advisors around essentially a test for consciousness, a test for sentience, a test for exactly what we're talking about, that a replica understands it as a replica. I mean, I hope not, because I think if it were able to think it was a replica and understand that it was just a replica, I think it would become dangerous or very sad. A bit like if we found out we are just AI copies of ourselves. Some people might take it okay, and they might be like, oh well, I can still live my life. But I think the vast majority of people would have a very difficult time coming to grips with that. So probably wouldn't want that to happen for our replicas either. Anyway, very fun question. Thanks for that, Joel. That was a great one.
But one that goes in a lot about this is the new Netflix series Pantheon season 1 and 2. It actually goes deep into this digital knowledge. So start with you. Yeah, I think it's Pantheon on Netflix. It's uploaded UI, amazing thought on how we got created. Are we in a different universe of a different UI or different artificial intelligence over time within the universe? It's like multiple of them. But
Very
it's crazy. So Sarko Cleopatra comes in. What are some real-world examples of how businesses or individuals have used Sensay replicas to foster innovation or building deeper connections?
Yeah, so we've been pitching quite a few big companies recently. And essentially the idea is that with companies that have, let's say, 100,000 employees across the world, we can actually replicate some of their key performers, some of the people that are experts in their company and experts in certain technologies, or just people who you would want to be involved in certain conversations as part of a global team, so they can contribute into teams that they wouldn't normally be able to with different languages, or junior people be able to actually pitch these replicas as a way of testing out ideas before they actually pitch to the senior person in real life. Having these replicas there basically just means this knowledge transfer that we've talked a lot about isn't lost, and it basically means that people can use it for training, onboarding, customer service, community engagement. So lots of Web3 projects using it for community engagement in their communities, as well as building on top of it with different niche use cases, everything from gaming to influencer marketing, networking, job hunting, matchmaking, afterlife and grief tech. So many different applications that are possible with this technology.
So, non-live taker. Tell us more about the implementation of website and videos on YouTube in digital replicas. I had problems with it and it didn't work.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, we're constantly improving our YouTube and website scrapers. So the way the YouTube scraper works is it usually takes a transcript, and some YouTube videos have kind of got that banned on them. So, John, you looked at website and YouTube scraping a bit as well, didn't you, before?
Yes, I was part of the team that was looking into that.
And it's
It's a
I'm
bit,
right in thinking the issue was because transcripts aren't always available, and on certain websites they have like don't crawl type things, so it doesn't let you scrape every website and every YouTube video.
that's correct. When you're trying to scrape anything, whether it's YouTube or a website, there are difficulties at times with places that have intentionally blocked it, and that has to be respected. And then also, depending for the topic of websites, depending on the complexity of the underlying structure of the website, sometimes it can be fairly hard to extract useful data from that website. But yeah, specifically with the YouTubes, it's probably that we cannot transcribe the video, and that's beyond our control.
There was a problem with some languages as well, right?
I wasn't specifically working on that,
Okay.
Dan, but that indeed could be a problem. The more obscure languages, quite simply put, the AI can't handle. So
Yeah.
depending, you were talking about different models handle different things better, but AI doesn't have the ability to handle every language in existence well.
Very cool.
So we have Deadpool. What is the ultimate vision that that our project is trying to achieve with the cryptocurrencies market? I would appreciate if you could share with us the upcoming updates now.
Yeah, sure. Let me find out a little list on this. So we the obvious ones are payments with Sensay tokens, and so that's coming up first. The next steps, and this is kind of what I always talked about, even in my books from years and years ago, about like when you create these replicas, you need some kind of authorization and verification of likeness, essentially proof of humanity. So the next integrations will be partnership with some proof of humanity and KYC on chain. So that basically what that means is you can verify your identity and have it connected to a particular wallet that you own. Then that would be connected to some kind of proof of likeness that we haven't quite figured out yet, but proof of likeness for you against your replica, and that would all be tied onto the same wallet. So that basically proves that you are who you are, and your replica represents you in a good enough way. And so that would mean that when the replica is minted as an NFT, that has some kind of value to you because that will be your official replica, as opposed to any other platform where someone can create a replica of anyone. This would be you creating a replica of yourself and have it authorized and verified as as a replica of you. Because you're minting it as an NFT, that does enable it to become tradable on some kind of marketplace. So that means that people could sell the likeness of themselves, or the value that is created because it's become useful. And then we'd actually be able to, once we implement agentic features to the different replicas as well, it also means that we would actually be able to essentially authorize activity. So this is really super interesting because it basically means that you, instead of just having generalist agents out there that are doing things for you, but like maybe my example is always, imagine if you wanted to just say, oh, book the Mexican restaurant in my town, right? And most of the sort of upcoming agents will do that in some kind of form for you, and they'll do a half decent job. But with Sensei's knowledge and wisdom engine, you actually end up having a real personalized view on that, because if you were to just say book me a restaurant, it would probably look for some decent restaurants and they'd be fine. But if it has your wisdom, your understanding, your experience, and your data, it will actually be able to tailor it to you. Because if you said, let's go for a Mexican restaurant, some people just think, oh, let's go down for a taco truck, and that's what they like. Some people like the super high end, and then pretty much everything else in between. Some people like burritos or tacos, whatever. So there's always different preferences when it comes to these things, and having that personalized AI really makes it fine-tuned to you and useful to you. So when we actually have the agentic flow in there, it basically means that we can verify that data, verify everything on chain, and have the entire thought process worked out on chain and transparent for the maker to see how the replica is thinking, so that you can update the flow if needed. So that's where it becomes really useful. But that's a little bit further down the line. Thanks. I think we're going to take one more question. We're a little bit over time today.
So it comes in here. Josie Lawrence, will you guys ship video replicas or audio in real time, interactive way?
Video replicas or audio in a real-time interactive way. Yes. So a few updates on this. We already integrate HeyGen, and there's a few other interactive video software platforms coming out that we will be able to integrate. So anyone can go create an interactive replica on HeyGen, and then they can use via the HeyGen API to plug it into your replica, and then it will have your knowledge set and be able to use that. Voice is what John's been working on, and this basically enables that when the voice-to-voice works well, your replica will be able to have entire video, well, essentially video and phone calls with anyone. So yes, both those things are being worked on. I don't think we have a deadline for either of those at this moment, but probably it'll be this year at some point, I imagine.
That is quite great.
Very cool. Well, guys, everyone out there, thank you very much for submitting questions. Sorry we couldn't get around to all of them today. Feel free to always jump into our community, which on all channels is at Ask Sensay. That's AskSensay. You can jump Telegram, Twitter. Feel free to ask anytime. You can find me at Sensay Dan on any channel as well. And yeah, it's pretty exciting what we're building, and we're great to have these like weekly updates and see that we're actually putting so much stuff out all the time. So thank you all again to the community for joining us. Thanks to John and to Lars for joining us this week. And yeah, we'll see you next week for another series of updates and conversations around digital immortality, replicating humans, and AI and Web3 in general.
It's always interesting to see what comes out. And thank you, Dan, again for being here and sitting with the whole community. I know everyone in the community appreciates your time, as we know it's so valuable with everything you're going on.
That's the job. Got to do it. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll see everyone next time.
And thank you, John, for joining us. Have a good day.
Thank you for having me on anytime.
Are you ready for your digital twin? Let's go back.
It's rewind time.
The birth of communication. The wonder of hearing a voice from miles away.
Hello. Just a minute, please.
Then, the IT revolution, connecting us not just by voice, but by data.
The world is at your fingertips.
The mobile revolution. We ventured into the world connected like never before. The smartphone era. More connected than ever, closer than ever, which all became a bit overwhelming. Too much information. Too many demands. Imagine if you had a helping hand. You, hundreds of you, teaching, scheduling, engaging, buying, selling your digital AI replica. Helping you focus on what really matters. It's your